In this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to get rid of a body. Only joking, guys. I'm not dismembering any bodies today and disposing them in wrapped up polythene sheets. Certainly not in this episode anyway. Today we're going to be concentrating on getting the insulation in the walls, getting that staple to the walls. We're then going to cover that insulation in those walls in this moisture membrane to stop any moisture coming through so there's no condensation overnight or when we're partying hard in here. Once that moisture membrane's up, we can then put the plasterboard on. So I'm hoping in this video to get the wall completely prepped, or get the walls completely prepped, ready for Not Tall Paul the plasterer to come get it plastered at the weekend. So, let's get cracking. And that, guys, is how you cover the walls from getting blood on them. Sorry, wrong video. So I've got two different rolls of insulation here. I've got a 170mm or 17cm thick loft insulation, which I'll probably use for the roof, just because it'll give a little bit more expansion, keep a little bit more heat in. I've then got a 100mm insulation roll that I think I'm going to use for the walls. One of the main reasons for putting this insulation in, obviously it keeps the bar warm, keeps the temperature in a little bit, but it adds a bit, well, it adds extra noise cancellation. So at the moment we've just got the bare stud walls, but once that insulation's in and then the plasterboard's on, you literally can't hear a great deal from outside of this room, which is ideal for when we're partying late at night. The neighbours just behind that wall can't hear us, and more importantly, the children in the house can't hear us, and we're not waking up and disturbing them. Obviously they're old enough to be, you know, in the house on their own. So what I have got is the insulation that I originally took out of this back wall. So the first thing I think I'll do is just reinstate the insulation from this back wall, and then I can work out where I need to go on this side and what I've got left for this side. I'm hoping I've got enough. I don't want to have to go and buy another roll just for a tiny bit, so if I do need to pinch some from one wall to another, I will do. I think the insulation that I put in that wall originally was this 170mm, so a bit thicker, so I might be able to pinch a bit from that wall. Rob Peter to pay Paul, basically, is what I'm saying. Not Tall Paul, Peter and Paul. If you're new to the channel and this is the first video you've seen, I do apologise for my randomness. And if you have recently subscribed and watched some of my other videos, then thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying the random DIY content. Oh, safety first. Ready to go. I don't know how many of you have installed this fiberglass insulation before, but you definitely do need to wear eye protection, a mask and gloves, and ideally one of these suits, because within a matter of minutes you can feel it in your eyes, you can feel it up your nose, you start to tickle and cough, and it doesn't half chafe your skin. So I'm not usually one for being over the top with PPE, as you'll have seen in some of the other videos, but for this stuff you definitely need it because it's horrible. Right guys, so I've just done that wall. So while I'm on and I've got a piece of that polythene sheet cut already, I'm just going to staple that over, and then that just covers that nicely. And I don't need to worry too much more about all of those fibre particles or glass fibre particles floating around and getting everywhere. They're going to be everywhere anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So let's cover it with this. I don't fully know how this works, I just know that you need to do it, and it's advisable to do it. But essentially, if you put that membrane up, it stops moisture, I think, either penetrating or escaping, or heat coming in, vice versa. But basically it stops condensation forming, so if you're in here over a period of time, or if you come here in the winter or in the summer when there's been a sudden change in temperature, you don't get like condensation drops on your walls or on the metal parts of stuff in the room. So I've done it for this side of the bar and I've never had a problem here with condensation. Even when people have been here for hours on end with the heater on and stuff like that, there's never been any condensation. So that's the reason I'm doing it. Let me know in the comment box why you do it in the trade. Obviously houses, new build houses have this, so that's why I'm doing it anyway. A vapour barrier, that's what it's called. Not moisture barrier, vapour barrier. If you do have anything to hide, like drugs, money, jewellery, body parts, now's a good time to do it. Put them in the wall before you put the plastic up. That's what my mate Dave always advises. Not electrician Dave, my murderer mate Dave. He's not really a murderer, he's just watched a lot of Breaking Bad and CSI. Right, that's one wall done. I'm going to cut to a time lapse now and get the rest of it done. I'll check back in a bit. Woo! And there you go. Quite possibly one of the hottest jobs in the world. So that's the walls done. What I need to do next is the ceiling. Pretty much exactly the same process. I've got the slightly thicker insulation to go up there. I'm going to layer it over the top of these rafters, and I'm going to put my moisture membrane, or moisture barrier, underneath it to give it something to rest on just in case it wants to fall down. Hopefully that won't be too difficult. I've only got a couple of rows to do, so I'm going to crack on, get that done now, and once that's done we can move on to plasterbordering and start to transform the space. Right, final push. Oh. Woo! Right guys, that's that job done. Jeez. I'm gonna go get freshened up, maybe grab a beverage, tidy up this absolute mess in here, and then we'll come back and we'll crack on with the plasterbordering. Plasterbordering, waterbordering, plasterbordering, putting the plasterboard up. See you in a minute. Right guys, I'm back. It's a little bit hot, it's a little bit sweaty. I've got a nice gin and tonic just to ease the pain. Right, next job, plasterboard on the walls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure these lengthwise. 85 inches is a nice even number. That'll give me roughly a good inch hang off the ground. So what you don't want to do is rest these plasterboards right on the ground. You want to raise them up about an inch. So 85 inches will give me just enough clearance off the ground for about an inch. I'm going to basically cut them to be midpoint along the battens. So wherever the boards lie, so they're halfway between each of the joists. I'll mark them there, cut them, screw them in place. Pretty repetitive process, so I'll crack on with that now. I'll cut to a time lapse and you can watch me.
You got me going into overdrive. Too busy, can you leave a message by the tone? You got me wrapped around in summertime. Yeah, yeah, I need to know we'll fall in love right here and now. Call me up whenever you're feeling low. Stimulate your mind, we can take it slow. You got me going crazy now. Falling into you, 'cause you're on my mind. Jump, jump on it. Put 'em up, come and show me. I guess we'll never know it. On it. Put 'em up, no second thoughts, just let me change your mind. Put 'em up, I guess we'll never know it. Put 'em up, no second thoughts, just let me change your mind. You're taking way too long, it's overtime. No lucky strikes, you're all it takes to be in my zone. So show me something, just a little sign. Yeah, I'm always...
Right guys, we're back. It's a new day. I started putting this plasterboard up on the wall the other night when it was starting to get dark, and before I knew it, it was pretty much dark outside and there was hardly any light in here. I don't know why I carried on doing it, because I didn't have the electrics connected to put the normal lights on, and I didn't think to bring any auxiliary lights or torches or anything like that. But I decided to put these 2 bits of plasterboard up in the dark, and I made a right pig's ear of it. So there's a huge gap here, which not tall Paul's probably not going to be overly happy about. And I've missed the hole on several occasions. Now, it's not like me to miss the hole, but yeah, so I made a right pig's ear of it. So I've come back and reassessed. I think what I want to do is just leave that and take the flak from Paul for doing a really shoddy job of putting these boards up. Normally, you'd put the flush edges together, but I put the flush edges on the end because I was hoping to kind of have that nicely finished and just paint that rather than having to put trim on the end like I have here. But I might have to put trim on anyway on both sides. So for these 2 walls over here, I'm going to do it, but put the cut edge on the outside, I think. Once I've done that, then I can put the smaller boards on the ceiling. So I'm hoping it's 3:45 now. I've had a day off today, so I've just picked the little one up from school. He's currently on his bouncy castle, so I'm hoping a couple of hours or a couple more hours can get this done, and then I've got the rest of the weekend back to myself. So let's cut to a time lapse, let's crack on and get this done. Right, that's the walls done. Fairly pleased with that. They're generally not too bad, not too shabby. Right, next job, ceiling. Right, so for the ceiling, I've got 1.8 metre by 900 width boards. What I have done is, as I've put the wall boards up, I've left roughly a 12mm board width gap. So, in theory, what I should be able to do is put one side of the board up there to mount it and rest it on while I screw this side in, and I can come back and do the other sides. In theory, this is usually where you end up snapping one over your head, but we'll give it a go. Right guys, wish me luck. This is usually where it goes horribly wrong, but if it does, it's on camera so you can see. Oh, God. Right, it's in. No, I'm not liking that. Abort, abort, abort. There goes my friggin' drill. And I've just realised anyway, I can't start from this side, I've got to start from that side because this one isn't a full width board. This is a fill-in piece. Oh, Jesus. Right. Forget that, guys. I'll work out what the hell I'm doing and I'll check back in a minute and start again. Whoa. Right, guys, I've reassessed the situation. I need to start from this side. I've just stacked up all the offcuts of plasterboard here. So what that's going to allow me to do is basically rest the plasterboard on top of there, and then I can drill or screw this side into here. So let's give this a go. Jesus Christ, how far out's that? F me. Jesus. Right, check back in a minute. So we're back. It's another new day, a fresh day. I've had a good night's sleep. I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't get my head around what I needed to do yesterday. It was getting a little bit late in the day and I knew I was going to end up messing up, because that's always what happens. If I decide to do an extra hour's worth of work on something, it's always the worst hour, where mistakes happen, accidents happen, and I end up having to spend more money buying new materials. So anyway, we're back in today. I've just made a secret little weapon. So this is my little jammy stick. So it's just some offcuts of timber that I've had left and a decking board screwed on the top. So what that's going to allow me to do is when I put the board up, I can bring this up and it'll just wedge that board and hold it in place. So that means I need one less pair of hands, which is really helpful. Right, so I'm going to have a go and see if I can get this up on my own. Right, so that just needs to come this way a bit more without everything dropping like that. That's not looking too bad. Getting there, so far so good. You must be laughing your head off at home if you're a drywall liner or a plasterer or a plasterboarderer. The irony is this is not the first time I've done this. I've done the whole other side of the bar on my own, and I did my whole garage on my own, and I've done a couple of rooms in the house on my own. But you think, based on this video, this is the first time I've ever done this. It's like I've forgotten everything that you have to do. Anyway, we'll crack on. Right, so what I've just done there is line this board up level or square with that beam all the way to the end. Now there's about 10mm gap at the end now, which isn't ideal, but we'll obviously have to put a filler piece in here. But anyway, what I've done is I've just lined it up and I've just put a screw to keep that in place up there, and at this end I've put a screw here to keep that in place. So this is the trouble I've got, or the trouble I'm having, is these boards aren't square with the beams, as I've just said. So that is flush with where that would go square there, and then it comes out here about 15mm. So this is 15mm out at an angle. So I'm just gonna draw a line from there to there, and then we'll have to just trim this end square, or square with the angle, and then hopefully that board will go up flush. And then for this board that we cut here, the angle for there, we'll have to probably do the same, or as I said before, measure from there to there on a few points, and then cut the side bit on an angle, because what I don't want to do is trim off the end and then end up being too short at that end and have another big bloody gap there, because not tall Paul the plasterer will kick off. So let's mark this for cutting. Let's mark where the lights are, bring it down, cut it, trim it, drill it, and then get it back up. Get it back up. That's what she said. Right, attempt number, God knows how many. Let's give this a go.
Silly you, what did you think? He stayed for life 'cause he bought you a drink. Just get to see, hey pretty please.
Caught ya.
Sure you know how to bring the heat. On this one,
More screws.
no biz.
Oh, right guys, so I just pop this off. Oh, rest that there. Right, that's one board up. I do need to do another line of screws down the joist here and a couple more at the end, but that is the first one up for now. Flush with the joining bit of the ceiling here. Fairly difficult on my own. I made it a lot harder work than it should have been, but first one's up. What we can do now is work this one off square from here and then move along to here and get that one off square. I'm hoping that shouldn't be too difficult because we've got 12mm or so there to play with in terms of like feeding it over those boards, if that makes sense. And then finally there'll be a little corner piece to stick in here. So you've seen what's involved. I'm going to spare you the pain of watching me in detail do the rest of them. So I'm going to cut to a time lapse now and we'll get this finished. See you in a few seconds.
He got away. He got away. She put a spell on
And boom, just like that, plasterboard's done. And as you saw from the videos, it didn't take very long at all. So, the walls are on. The ceiling's on. It's not my finest work, as I mentioned before. Not everything was square. This side of the room was never designed for being plasterboarded, so the joists and the stud work wasn't all lined up to be the best for lining these boards up in terms of being level and flush, but I've done the best I can. I did as well decide to do some stuff in the dark, so it's not the best job, so they're all my excuses. I'm laying them out there, so if you're looking at this and thinking, what on earth has he done there, what a bodge job, you're probably right, but at the end of the day, it's my garden bar. It'll be good enough as long as Paul doesn't kick off too much about having to plaster massive gaps. I'm sure he won't, but I'll let you know if he does. Anyway, what have I got left? So, I've had a bit of a clear round. There's nothing really I can do here until it's plastered. I am going to need to go around and just knock off all of this filler that's here from the old wall. Get that all smooth, ready for the plasterer. The light fittings, obviously these aren't live, but they're ready to be fitted. I've decided to go for just a straight line of 5. I'm going to get rid of this one in the corner. So this is just the last one of the series, so I can just disconnect that wire from there. And what I'm going to do with this hole is I kept this spare little cutout from there, so I can use that as a plug for there, and I'll get Paul to plaster over that bit. So we'll remove that one, and then the new bar layout, with that whole back wall, is going to be like a self-catering bar with fridges where you just kind of go up and help yourself rather than stand behind to keep space. So we'll have some kind of like cool neon lighting around there, I'm sure. And then for this side, I think if we need a little bit extra light, again, we might have a lamp in the corner, because I'm going to build like a seating area here. So I'm going to build seats that go along this wall and along there. And then we might have some kind of like beer barrel there with a couple of chairs. So there'll be plenty of space, and the lights, it doesn't need to be too bright anyway. It's mood lighting as opposed to being, you know, bright daylight working light. So guys, I think that is it for this video. We've got another step further in the construction, so we've managed to do the external framework and flooring. We've done some of the joinery to get the stud walls up. We've then insulated it, and now we've dry lined it or plasterboarded it. So next time you see it, it'll be plastered and ready for decorating. And then there'll be the final things to do, like additional skirting board all the way around. Obviously I'll need to fit in the new plug sockets and the light fitting, so a little bit of wiring as well over the next couple of videos. But we're slowly making progress, ready for the summer, and it's inaugural party night. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, subscribe for some more quirky, general DIY-ish content. You can be the judge of if it's any good and if it's going to help you with your DIY projects. But until then, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.